Hey friends, Zoom, Mr. Nichols is back. Hopefully I'll be back at it tomorrow for you guys. So on this one, I wanted to talk about lesson number 2 that you guys will be using today, which is building a network. We're actually going to start off kind of with an activity. I'm going to have you guys working with the people in your rows to try and help build some networks. So yesterday, as you guys hopefully again watched the video, we explored what the Internet Simulator did. You can send some messages back and forth to one single person. And we talk about it's nice because you're connected to a single person, but what are like the problems with this setup? And a lot of it is, well, we really only have one person to talk to. In the way that it's set up right now, you connect a wire between two individuals and no one else is here. So the question that we have is, can you start making some networks out of these? Can you start making connections so that you can start communicating with more than one person? So at this time, I believe everyone in your row is hopefully at the same exact point in this video. If not, maybe a minute behind. If you were the first person, look to your right or your left, say hi to the person, like, hey, you're going to come up on this section. Maybe you should get ready for it. So this is what you guys are going to do. You guys are going to work with the people in your rows to create some human networks. Now, with this, I really just want you guys to kind of collaborate on some ideas of drawing how you can connect these things together. What I'm going to have you guys do, though, is this. We're going to have you guys drawing, and every team's going to have, or every row's going to have 5 dots. I want you to pull out your iPad or a piece of paper. I want you to put 5 dots in like a circular kind of shape, a pentagonal shape, if you want to think of it that way. And what we're going to try and do is answer some of these challenges based on these rules. The first thing is that only 2 dots can be connected by a single line. So you can't like split lines anywhere in the middle of them. They have to connect one dot to another. The other thing is that you can also be connected to multiple other dots. So you can have several quote unquote strings coming from a single dot. So challenge number 1, what I want you guys to do is to create some sort of a network where every single one of those 5 dots is able to communicate and access every single one of the other 5 dots as well. Really quickly, right now, again, if you haven't done it, put 5 dots in a pentagon type shape. Go ahead and get with your row and try to discuss and actually physically draw the network that would connect all 5 dots together. Pause this video now. And you're back. Hopefully your network looked like a star kind of shape where you had every point, so you have like a perimeter around it, and then every connection possible kind of made like a giant star-like shape inside your pentagon. But that's the best way, where you connect to every single other dot that's possible. So now guideline A is going to help us with challenge number 2. Guess what, guys? These strings cost money. So we are going to try to eliminate as many strings as possible under one single rule. The rule is everyone still has to be able to be connected. So whether you have to travel through another person to get that connection made, that's fine. But you're going to have to make it so that you have as few strings as possible in order for you guys to all be connected together. Again, I want you to draw a pentagon style shape with just 5 dots and then come up with some sort of a way in which you can connect everyone together with as cheap of a setup as possible using the fewest amount of strings. Pause this video now. And you're back. Holy cow, there were a lot of answers for this one, depending on how you did it. I think the most simple answer would have been kind of a border around all 5 of the pentagons, but not a closed border. So you'd have like one single pentagon or one dot that wasn't connected to another dot on the border. It's like an open circle, if you want to think about it that way. That last line that could have connected and made the actual perimeter, you didn't need that one, right? Because the idea is that even between that gap, you could have traveled all the way around the circle, and all 5 of them are still connected at some point in time. So that was a nice little fun feature. Some people might have done some zigging and zagging in between, but again, as long as you went from one dot to the next 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 dot without actually breaking that line, I think you're good to go. And then the last one here. So we know strings cost money. We're going to try and use the least number of strings. We're going to add another guideline to this. Here, I'm going to have you guys say, no matter what our setup is, if I could cut one of those strings, everybody could still connect together. So you're going to come up with a network, again, drawing 5 dots on a pentagon. You're going to have to connect them all together using as few strings as possible to save money. But under the circumstance where if I cut one wire, every single computer or every single dot can still connect together. Why don't you guys go ahead and try this out, as few strings as possible. Pause this video now. Guess what? You're back, ladies and gentlemen. What did this one look like for you guys? It was probably the same exact thing you had last time, but just with like that final connection around the perimeter. Or when you went from one dot to one dot to one dot to one dot, you closed that connection by going back to the original dot that you had. You really just needed one extra line. Any one of those lines that you cut then from there on, everyone else is still connected. So it's kind of making a loop in a sense that you wanted to make sure that you can run forever. Sweet. So that was pretty fun. As a group, try to find something that connects all three of these together. Realistically, there's a lot of answers that can go in here. But what we're really trying to get at for you guys is the strength and weakness of some of these networks. So we have to find this balance of, man, these strings that connect things together, or in our case, wires that connect things together, they're kind of tough. And we have a lot of stuff that we have to pass along these wires. They're expensive. How do we have a good combination of, we need a lot of them, but we need to save money at the same time? So with this, we start talking about what the internet and the web of the internet actually is. So the internet is really just what we call a distributed packet switch network. Really fancy words. We're going to learn a little bit more about packets back in Unit 5. But understand that it's like a web. Like literally we call it the World Wide Web because everybody is linked and interconnected at some point in time. What distributed means is that there's no central node, and we kind of heard this from the first video we watched where it was originally designed to withstand some sort of nuclear explosion where everyone would still be able to connected. And so that's the point, is there's no central command. There's not one thing that controls all. It's such a giant web that if, a hole in the web, if there was a hole in the web, everyone in the web that remains still would be able to connect together with each other. And then we talk about things like ISPs, or internet service providers. These are the people who give us the internet. Comcast, we got AT&T, there's WOW, there's so many of them nowadays, but some of the big wigs are usually there. But that's usually what provides the infrastructure. They don't actually own the internet. They do own the physical hardware a lot of times that helps us connect things together. Like they are actually the ones who bought the wires, put them in the ground, and connected them together for you guys. That's how they quote unquote own it, is they just literally purchased those pieces for us and put them to use. We'll talk about what packet switched means a little bit later, but again, the whole idea of this is decentralized control. It's not managed by any single entity. If you connect two computers together, those two computers can perform the protocols of the internet and communicate with each other. So there's no rules of who owns it or anything like that. It's really clear like that. Now from that, this is where we kind of stray off a tiny bit. I want to talk about like the interconnectedness that you guys have in a web. And I think this is one thing that students know a little bit about, but they don't really fully grasp this idea a lot of times, is cookies on the internet and where those come from. Like as you're surfing the World Wide Web, we always hear about these things called cookies. And these are not like your mom's cookies or your grandma's cookies that we all like to eat. But what cookies actually are is when you're surfing the web and you go to all these different web pages, there's just little data that's stored on your computer from the websites that you've visited. And what their original process of this is it was meant to like personalize your browsing experience. And that's as easy as something like when you guys go to a website and you want it to be in dark mode or light mode. That is a cookie or a little piece of information that's often on your computer that says, hey, the next time that I come visit this website, can you feed this website the cookie? This little piece of reminder that says, oh yeah, Mr. Nichols really wanted the dark mode every time he comes to this website. So it's almost like a setting or a personalization of a website that you want. We need cookies in order for things to have functionality. For example, every time you open a brand new web page without cookies, those websites would forget that you were actually there. They would think you were a brand new person every time you open a brand new web page. Where does that suck? Things like Amazon. When you go to put something in your cart and you click that button that says go to cart, when you clicked that button, if cookies didn't exist, you'd go to your cart and it'd say, hey, I don't know who you are. You got nothing in your cart. That would suck. So a whole entire internet would kind of be shut down without cookies. There are some downfalls to cookies as well. So what that means is that there's little pieces of evidence of where you've been on your computer somewhere. So somebody could, with extensive knowledge on how to access these pieces of information, could come and actually track where you've been if they can find those things. And then also what happens is a lot of times you end up with what's called targeted advertising. You guys know all about that now. It's huge in the world where we say it seems like Facebook and Instagram, everyone knows everything about us. It's because they collect so much information on us. And some of the ways that they do these are from these things called cookies. And what we actually have is a video for you later that describes how cookies actually work for you. With this, we've got the other thing that's kind of like cookies and kind of not at the same time. It's called browser cache. So when you guys actually like go over and hopefully you clear out your cookies in browser once your cache once in a while. But people always wonder like, hey, I kind of know what cookies are, but what the heck is cache? Browser cache, in a similar sense, is more information that is technically stored on your computer, but the difference is who's doing the storing. So cookies, it's the websites that you go to. The website says you need to send a cookie that says he needs dark mode, he needs English versions, blah, 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 blah. The website chooses that. Browser cache, on the other hand, is actually content from the web browser. That's something like Google, Firefox, Chrome, or any of those things that you want, Google Chrome. Those are the websites that are saying, hey, you know what? Mr. Nichols has gone to ESPN.com so many times that he doesn't need to download the logo every single time he goes there. So what they do is they say, let's download the logo once, let's save it to Mr. Nichols' computer. The next time he visits that website, doesn't need to download that thing ever again. He's got it. So it's meant to actually speed up your experience. So the less you download, the faster your internet actually goes. Again, very similar to the ESPN logos that we have. Drawbacks, once again, remnants of where you've gone might potentially be on your computer. If you know how to find that information, you could potentially know where someone has been. Also, it takes up space, right? You're storing pictures at some point in time. There's a limited quantity of space we have for those. And then the other things is that if you're downloading the ESPN logo, what if they update it? You might not have the most up-to-date logo. So that is why sometimes clearing that browser cache is sometimes a good thing to do so it can re-download some of the new information you need. So reminder of cookies versus cache, similar concepts. Cookies come from websites. Cache comes from web browsers. Again, cookies just kind of allow us to store settings, preferences, and reminders of what we have, aka what's in our carts. Cache is just meant to speed up your browsing experience and save you some time, realistically. What I'd like you guys to do is this guy, I love the way this guy says cookies, but he's going to talk to you a really good way of targeted advertising via cookies and how companies kind of pool together all their cookies to get more information about more people. It's pretty crazy. But watch this video really quickly, and then come on back. And you're back. Did you pause yet? You should paused. If you didn't pause now. And then come back. And you're back. Guys, I want you to visit this website. I want you to use, it might not work in Google Chrome. You might have to do it in Firefox or Internet Explorer. But follow this link, and I want you to fill in the information, anything you feel comfortable filling in. Click the buttons and see what happens. Why don't you guys try that out for me really quickly right now? Go. Pause. Pause the video. And you're back already. Wow, that was fast. That was super fast. Did you type in your personal information? First off, Hopefully you did not. One of the things we're going to remind you about in the internet world is that the internet is a crazy place and that you need to make sure you're keeping your information private. The second thing was with these things called cookies, like we made this website. This this website now has information about you, right? So when you tried to like close out your browser and you cleared out what everyone wrote in there, there was that button that said, "Can you replace all the information?" They knew all your information even after it was cleared out because that was a cookie that was saved, remnants of your information on your computer that that website had used. So that's again in combination with the video we just watched how companies can make money off of you visiting their websites. And we always see all the time, like, how do these companies make money? It's just clicks. It literally is. When you click into that website, they leave cookies on your web page. People collect those cookies, find out information about you, send you targeted advertisements. It's pretty crazy. Can you stop cookies? Yes and no. You are allowed to block cookies. You will probably have a slightly different online experience without cookies. Some things won't work. But then people think, what about private browsing mode? Is that like the one that works? Unfortunately, private browsing mode and all those incognito modes, whatever you want to call them, what they really are is they're just little ways of browsing where when you close down your browser, it will automatically delete all the cookies and it will automatically delete all the cache for you and the downloads. So this is kind of like the best of both worlds, which I honestly use private browsing websites or web browsers all the time when I remember to, because it's still saving your cookie so you can still get the website experience. It's just when you close it out, it deletes it all for you. You don't have to go back and worry about going into your settings to clear all history, whatever the heck it is. Um, it does it for you every single time. Very nice, very useful. If you're not using private browsing mode, I highly suggest it. It's very useful for you guys. All right, that was it. Hopefully that got done before the end of the period. Hopefully I'll be back tomorrow. I'll see y'all later. Peace. Oh, don't forget to look at these. We'll talk about these a little bit later, but vocab words, all good.